Wait a minute. Who are you people? Oh, it's the Pokemon fans again. Well, welcome back to another 99% video. Today we're going to be covering Pokemon Firered and Pokemon Leafgreen. And we're going to take a look at what 99.2% of people do not know about these games and what potentially the 0.8 peasants out there do know about these. I'm just joking. Either way, we're going to take a look at some of the interesting facts and, secrets and Easter eggs and things like that in Pokemon Firered Leafgreen that you may or may not have missed in the past. Sit back, relax, and let's get started.
So, first off, we got Loreley's Doll Collection. For every 25 times you enter the Hall of Fame in Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green, you'll basically get one of Loreley's new dolls added to the collection in her house on 4 Island. She actually will stop adding them after a total of 8 dolls. So this is honestly kind of a side thing that you can do just for fun, but it's going to require you to finish basically the game's Elite Four quite a few times. Next up is the unlocking of the mini-games on 2 Island. Now, when you have access to 2 Island, what you gotta go and do is actually save the Game Corner owner's daughter, and then deliver the package from, in this situation, to the grateful owner, who will then open up some mini-games that you and your friends can play wirelessly within this place. There's some interesting things about this in all fairness, and 2 Island itself is honestly a pretty cool place, and in general, the Sevi Islands were pretty, unique. So as we were just talking about the Sevi Islands, there were actually some interesting things about it. Like, for example, there's an area north of 6 Island called Pattern Bush. This is an area that basically is exclusive to these remakes. It doesn't exist in the, original games from Generation 1. And basically, it was sort of designed to sort of resemble, I guess, a circuit board of the original Generation 1 video games. And this is such a cool little Easter egg added in by the developers that's still there, and especially within these Sevi Islands themselves. If you want to get yourself some unique moves, then you should definitely head over to the 2 Island, which of course is an island loaded with interesting things, but there is essentially a rare move tutor, like a very special one, that lives here on the sort of northern part of the island itself. Now, what she will do is basically teach one of your starter Pokemon out of one of the 3, right? Whichever one you have, some extremely useful moves that you definitely could use. So it would basically teach Frenzy Plant for Venusaur. If you have a Charizard, you can get Blast Burn, and Hydro Cannon to Blastoise. So honestly, if you want to get yourself some useful moves, you should definitely do this. And this exact little Easter egg thing, whatever you want to call it, with these secret moves, has been repeated in future games. Even in Sword and Shield, it does exist. Next up, we've got the trainer card stickers. Now, over on the 4 Island, you can go over to Braggart. Now, he'll basically tell you, or rather ask you, what you want to brag about, and he basically awards you with a sticker. Now, it all depends on sort of what kind of achievements you have achieved within the games, and he'll give you different things, different stickers depending on what you've done. For example, if you hatched a certain amount of eggs, he'll give you different sort of levels of stickers, you know what I mean? So after hatching maybe 300, you get a 4th level, sticker essentially, like a egg hatching sticker on the 4th level. You also have one for the Hall of Fame, depending on how many times you've beat the Elite Four, and also one for multi-battle, link battles, whatever, victories that you've had, which can go all the way up to 100. So definitely unique and interesting and sort of strange at the same time. So, back in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, you were actually able to get the 3 legendary dogs, right? Or legendary beasts, whatever you want to call them. Now, to basically do this, it all sort of depends on kind of what starter Pokemon you chose in the start of the game. Now, 1, the player must first of all beat the Elite Four, so that's one of the first things you gotta do. Then you gotta complete Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire side quests. This is a specific side quest you guys do. Then you gotta find the beast in tall grass of the Kanto region. Its location, or one of the, beast dogs locations, will be random. Now, these dogs will basically be caught, you try to catch, will have a type advantage to your starter Pokemon, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, basically you gotta run around trying to catch the legendary dogs. This whole event is pretty unique and interesting, and they were extremely difficult actually to get your hands on, so you will have to do that side quest within Ruby and Sapphire to actually gain the ability to do this. So it is tiny bit of complication, but definitely worth it in the long run if you want to have one of the legendary dogs. So not a lot of people enjoyed this aspect of these games, but there was an ability for you to trade, of course, between Ruby, Sapphire, and Colosseum over to Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Now, when these games first came out, you can only trade between the 2 versions themselves. However, over time, by completing certain in-game things, like actually side quests in the games, you were actually able to then unlock the ability to trade to Pokemon Colosseum over on the GameCube, and of course also Pokemon Sapphire and Pokemon Ruby, that were the other 2 games at the time on the GBA, and eventually also later that year when Fire Red Leaf Green came out, you had Emerald as well. But basically to do this, you had to defeat the Elite Four, then you had to basically retrieve both the Ruby from Mount Ember and the Sapphire from Team Rocket, and then give them both to Celio. And then you basically unlock the ability to actually trade between these games. So definitely a worthwhile thing to do if you wanted to trade between those games if you already own them. So, while you're spending some time in Pewter City, you can actually head over to the Pewter City Museum, and if you head inside here, there's an area where they have a space exhibit right on the first floor, and there you can find an NPC who will mention July the 20th, 1969, and mankind walking on the moon, right? A basically literal reference to the actual moon landing, which is kind of strange considering that Pokemon is set in its own parallel universe that doesn't really, connect to our real world, but sometimes it actually does, and of course these are all little Easter eggs that are left in these games by the developers themselves. So on the 5 Island, you can find the Team Rocket warehouse. Now inside of here, you need to basically get 2 passwords to get inside. It's kind of straightforward, to be honest with you, but if you take a look at both the passwords, you'll notice something kind of strange about them, right? So the first one is Goldeen Need Log, and the other one is Yes Nah Chansey, and these are palindromes, right? You can read them the same way front and back. It's kind of a weird thing, right? So if you actually read them backwards, literally look at it. Goldeen Need Log. Yeah, it's kind of strange, isn't it? So yeah, kind of a random Easter egg, but also kind of a random place in general. So one of the classic Easter eggs that you can find in Pokemon Firered and Leafgreen is if you are in the bedroom of the player or in the actual, bedroom downstairs where like your mom is in the living room, whatever. Now, if you're upstairs, what is really interesting is if you actually look on the TV, there's something strange about it. It mentions a film being on, and it basically references that the movie Stand By Me, which basically talks about like a movie about 4 boys walking down a railroad track, which of course is a reference to the movie Stand By Me. And this actually was referenced again in one of the one of the music videos for Pokemon done very recently, so that was another thing there. But that's not all though. In the case of you being like, let's say, a female protagonist in these games, like if you're playing as a female rather than Trainer Red, then the film that you see is actually about a girl walking down a yellow brick road, which definitely is a reference to The Wizard of Oz. Now, these are really famous movies, and it's kind of interesting because I think these were definitely left in here as little fun Easter eggs by somebody at the studio who clearly loved them. And I think I've heard that Satoshi Tajiri, the man who created Pokemon, actually is a big fan of Stand By Me, and that's sort of why it's there. So now we're going to mention some of the most strange things about these games, which is, for example, the glitches you can find in them. So what are we talking about? Well, basically, we mentioned earlier that you can get, of course, the legendary beasts or the legendary dogs, whatever you want to refer to them, which of course is Raikou, Suicune, and Entei. But there is this really weird glitch in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green that makes basically these like Pokemon sort of unobtainable and uncatchable. Now, the trio basically becomes available to the player once you've completed the main storyline of the game and the National Dex, is basically like Pokedex is unlocked. Now, you basically then after that, gotta make sure to catch them in Generation 2 with a random counter followed by some very tedious tracking. But basically, if you do this, if you use Mean Look on any of the trio Pokemon, when you actually battle it, and they follow up with a Roar, the battle will end. And that's just, whatever. However, by doing this, it will basically cause this weird glitch that will just cause them to be impossible to catch. And if you actually check your Pokedex to track them down, you won't see them there, and you will just have an impossible time actually finding them, and they're just gone. So there is this really strange glitch there. So yeah, if you definitely don't want to lose them, then you should definitely not use Mean Look. That's all I'm gonna say. And while we're on the topic of glitches, there are some interesting ones, like, for example, the Unlimited Nuggets glitch. Now, basically, on the bridge on Route 24, right above, Cerulean City itself, there are, those trainers that you can, beat when you're actually, crossing over the Nugget Bridge. Now, once you get towards the end, of course, there is the obligatory Team Rocket Grunt, who will tell you, hey, great job, here's a Nugget, but also join Team Rocket and battle us. Now, if you lose the battle against the Grunt, you will essentially, just black out, and you'll go back to the Pokemon Center wherever the last time you healed was. However, you will still have the nugget in your bag, and when you go to cross the bridge again, you can basically go through the, conversation once more, and this will keep on going, and you can then just make so much money from this. You can make so much money just doing this one trick in the game, and there's that. So this is a weird glitch that exists, and you should definitely utilize it if you want to make a ton of money in Pokemon. Next, we have to mention the Naval Rock event, right? Now, what is Naval Rock? Well, basically, it's an area where you can get your hands on either a Lugia or a Ho-Oh. Now, these legendary birds are, of course, from the Johto region, and they exist on the 8th Sevi Island, which, of course, is named Naval Rock. Now, to get here, you need to get the Mystic Ticket. This one is basically obtained by being part of, one of the Nintendo events. Now, once you're inside the island, there are 2 paths. One to the left that takes you up to the flight stairs to meet Ho-Oh, and the summit where it's at, whereas the one on the right takes you down to the heart of the island, underwater to meet Lugia. And here you'll take on these Pokemon at level 70, either one, whichever you take on, and it's pretty awesome, to be honest. A way for you to get these Johto legendaries for yourself, but, you know, just a bit of a different way, and in Fire Red Leaf Green. If you head to Birth Island, you can get your hands on one of the most unique Pokemon of all time, that being Deoxys. Now, to get it, you gotta get yourself the Aurora Ticket item, which is really not something you get nowadays anymore. However, to get there to the last island of, you know, the Sevi Islands, which is Birth Island, you can only do that after completing a kind of strange puzzle. Now, this puzzle involves you basically chasing a black triangle around on the island itself, talking to it until it becomes a red hot dot, and then after doing that, Deoxys will emerge and attack you, which is really strange, but it's a pretty low level Pokemon. Deoxys in this case is level 30, so you got to make sure you do not take this one out and actually catch it, and once you've done that, it will revert to, you know, either its attack form in Fire Red or its defense form in Leaf Green, which is really interesting. So yeah, definitely a strange Pokemon, but one that's really difficult to get because of the Aurora Ticket being a limited item that's not really available anymore. Then we have the Altering Cave, which we mentioned before, but this is a really weird area on the Outcast Island of the Sevi Islands. Now, this was originally meant to be a cave where you could enter and basically collect data for the Wonder Spots, which would then basically alter the wild Pokemon inside of the cave itself. However, this never actually came to fruition. Only within Japan was it actually a thing, but everywhere outside in the rest of the world, it didn't do anything, and this cave basically was just nothing. There was nothing there, no special attributes, no special things happening. You could basically do nothing in the cave, but there were Pokemon that were supposed to be here, and these Pokemon are the following ones, which you'll see on the screen. It's a Zubat, Mareep, Pineco, Houndour, Teddiursa, Apom, as well as Shuckle, Stantler, and Smeargle. So a really unfortunate and kind of unlucky case that we didn't get this in the rest of the world, but Japan did get to enjoy it. Next up is the Fame Checker. Now, this is an item that was kind of similar to the Trainer Eyes of the Pokénav back in the day, and, you know, it's kind of a strange little thing, but it basically allows you to learn a bit of trivia about the major characters in the games, like, for example, people like Professor Oak, Brock, Surge, Erica, Sabrina, and people like Lorelei, as well as even Lance, right? It gets you just a bit of extra information about it, but you can't use this similar to, like, for example, the VS Seeker or the Trainer Eyes to, like, rematch these people, because it's just not possible. But it's just a nice way for you to get some information about these characters if you want to just know more about them, essentially. Next, we got to talk about one of the most interesting things ever, which is the Battle E freaking cards. Now, what are the Battle E cards? Well, basically, these were like sort of additions to the Generation 3 games that utilized the e-reader, which was a new kind of thing that you could use on your Game Boy right at the time, which would then allow you to add new content to the Pokemon games of that generation. Now, there were 5 sets that were released within Japan itself, but the weird thing is, right, only really the first set, you could say, or the first one, was actually released in the United States, Canada, and Australia. And then it was kind of just stopped because the e-reader really wasn't doing that well and it just wasn't worth it, and also never released in Europe. Now, there were some Pokemon Battle E cards that were actually released. You had a Battle E Series 1, Battle E Series 2, the Pokemon Colosseum Double Battle E cards, the Pokemon Fire Red Battle E cards, and the Pokemon Emerald Battle E cards, which were all available. Now, these were different promotional ones, but for the most part, they were really just used a lot in Japan, and most of these were in Japan. The other ones, 2 English ones, were actually, like, you know, kind of packaged with the North American version of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, but for the most part, you didn't get to enjoy them. However, Fire Red and Leaf Green did have these, and they're pretty interesting, because if you had one, you got yourself basically like 44 cards in the set, 32 of them were trainer cards, and 12 are trainer tower target time cards, which you could use. And of course, the trainer tower is just this really unique place in these games that you can go and take on some really strange challenges. Now, within these cards, you had like kind of these red, like, subsets. You had the red subset, the green, blue, yellow, as well the tower time, you know, subset, and these all featured unique characters like Youngster Cole, Burglar Jack, Psychic Millie, and multiple more. Just a really strange thing that, again, not a lot of people got to enjoy, but those who did, well, you had a great time. And actually, my boy Mixelli, you should check out his channel, is actually doing this right now. He's enjoying his time with the Battle E cards and just exploring all the possible trainers you can battle. So yeah, pretty awesome. And Fire Red Leaf Green definitely feature loads of really strange things within them.